Alrighty. This is the October 14th, 2024 regular meeting of the Coffee County School Board. We do have a quorum. So at this point, we want to call the meeting to order. I would ask Mr. Cordell if he would lead us in prayer.
Let's pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, we just thank you for this beautiful day, another day, Lord, to enjoy the beauty of your creation. We thank you, Father, for this day, for this time together. I thank you, Father, for those in attendance. I thank you, Father, for our school system and what they mean to this county. We pray, Lord, now that you would give us wisdom and discernment in the decisions we make. May we make those decisions that glorify you. And Father, we pray for your protection. And I just thank you, Father, for our teachers and all that are in our county and what they mean to this world and this county. This we pray in your Son's precious name. Amen.
Amen. Mr. Hansert, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have with us tonight our student ambassadors, Mallory Rogers and Lauren Shelton. So welcome. Enjoy the meeting. We got a good crowd here tonight. We do have public comment period. So first on our list is Andrew Taylor, and just for the record, so everybody knows, public comment is the board and the director can ask follow-up questions, but this is not the time for debate or discussion. So first up, we have Andrew Taylor. If you could come on up and to the microphone, please, and state your address and your topic.
All right. My name is Andrew Taylor. I live at 347 Haskell Winton Road, Manchester, Tennessee. I'm here tonight to address and clarify some information that was shared prior to and during your fall board retreat on September the 26th about the volleyball program that I'm in charge of, my responsibilities as a coach, my participation in the Weave Foundation, and my membership with the Weave Foundation. So there's a few items I'd like to clarify that were expressed that weren't clarified correctly. So I'd like to go through those items, and then I would like to just a few simple requests if I have time. The first item pertains to a quote that was made during your September 26th board retreat, where a quote was made: the parents of the volleyball program were told they were donating money to the Weave Foundation. That's inaccurate. At a June 6th meeting with all of my parents, we discussed budget, expenditures, fundraisers, and we discussed that the previous years leading up to this year, we had made donations to the Weave Foundation that came from our Dream for Weave Southern Slam Volleyball Tournament, a tournament that we've been hosting now for roughly 15, 16 years. At the time we brought this up, parents were told about the tournament. They were asked if there were any objections. No parents raised their hand. No parent came up to me after the meeting and said, I don't think this is a good idea. No texts, no calls, no emails. So everything's proceeding just like it was the previous years. I hear early on in September, prior to our tournament date of September 21st, that I had some unhappy parents about making these donations. So I called an emergency meeting of my parents, brought everybody in, gave them all an anonymous ballot and said, here, vote on what the club's talked about doing. Let's get the feedback, majority rules. I had 24 parents of my 28 parents vote. All 24 of them voted in favor. There were 4 sets of parents that were not there. They did not vote. They did not contact me. They did not come forward unhappy about us donating that money. So on October the 2nd, we made a $3,000 and $1,500 donation to the Weave Foundation, as was voted by my parents, just like the previous years. So I needed to clarify that. The second part was an item was brought up during your retreat about the volleyball program in regards to a discussion we're having about booster clubs. So I need to clarify, we don't have a booster club. All of my funds ran through the front office with Miss Amy, our accountant. All of my money goes through there. If I spend money, it's purchase ordered out. Administration signs off on it. In the summer, when everybody else is audited, my program is audited. In 17 years, there's never been a question about me and money and being audited. Another item I need to address is one that said you guys were discussing the system possibly adding more money to athletics. And the comment was made, well, if we're short of money, we don't need to be giving to these foundations. Well, my foundation donation or our foundation and system money are two totally different things. What you give as a system and what we raise as a program, totally different accounts. The money that we gave to the We Foundation came from the 19 other teams that came to our tournament, paid to get in and bought concessions from us. So I just want to clarify that when you're talking about booster clubs or system funds, those funds and the funds you're talking about aren't the same funds and they don't come from the same places. Another comment that was made in the community leading up to my tournament was that the Weave board members said that I gave all of our proceeds to the Weave Foundation. That's also inaccurate. 50% of what we raised at our tournament went to the Weave Foundation as voted on by my parents. They voted on that percentage, and that was the percentage that was given. Another comment that was made during the retreat was, I spoke to the Weave president, and he totally agrees with me. Well, that's a little bit out of context. The Weave president was spoken to, and on the night we made the donation, he graciously accepted the donation and apologized for all the noise that came around the donation that was unnecessary. What the Weave president agreed to was a statement that basically said if the parents were unaware that this donation was being made, then it would be a problem. He had no problem with us donating to that foundation as we had the previous years. So those are a few of the things that I need to clarify. Also, there was a statement made that the coach of this program is on the Weave board. He's part of the Weave board of the foundation. That is actually correct. I am a board member. I'm one of 9. Not a board of 1, but a board of 9. And we are a legitimate program. All the paperwork's filled out, 501(c)(3). It's all legitimate. The books are always open. You can come check it anytime you want to. But I'm not going to apologize for being part of this. This foundation was formed when we lost a good man. It's for a good cause. And as a leader of an athletic program, I think it's important that we teach our young people to give back through situations like this. So the last thing I want to end with is I have 2 requests. Number 1, if you ever hear anything about me or one of my programs that doesn't sound right, maybe it's a little off, maybe it's a little fishy, maybe concerns you, please call me, please text me, please come see me. It's unfair to talk about a man in his program when you didn't contact me, you didn't contact my AD, and you didn't contact my principal. I've been in this town for 30 years coaching.
1 minute.
Okay, I've been in this town for 30 years coaching. You don't stay in a little town like this coaching for 30 years if you're doing shady business. And then the last thing is, I need you to continue to support our support organizations and our community service projects. When we do community service, we're teaching our young athletes to give back to the community. Our community gives so much to our athletic program. For us to go out, build sidewalks, work the Dusty Elam Foundation, do landscaping, go to nursing homes, work with groups and make donations, that's only sending the right message to our kids. If all I'm doing is teaching how to serve a ball and how to shoot a hoop, we're missing the whole point here. It's not about wins and losses. Nobody's going pro here, okay? We're raising leaders, the future leaders of this community, and they need to know how to give back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach Taylor.
Oops, sorry. Any questions? All right. Next up is Miss Kathy Rose. Step to the microphone, state your address and your business topic.
Catherine Rose, 506 Campbell Avenue, Tullahoma, Tennessee. I want to address you concerning item 1 on your agenda for this evening. I'm sure that comes as a great surprise to you that I would come and say something about that. I simply want to read a list to you, and I'll make sure everybody out here can hear my list and everyone who's watching at home. Leadership through a pandemic. 4 reward schools. Pay raises for the entire staff of our schools, certificated and non-certificated. Upgrades of our facilities. Over a 90% approval rating by the staff who responded to the survey. 5 years ago, there was a little over $6 million in our reserve fund. The report you see today will show $22 million in our reserve funds. Sir, I want to tell you, I feel your pain. I don't think facts mean much. I really don't. Dr. Lawson, I want you to know what a privilege it is to know you personally, to have worked with you professionally, and to have been on a board that supervised you. You certainly deserve better treatment than you have received from these people. But I want to thank you for what you have done. Thank you.
All right, next up, we have Sarah Bradley. Please step to the microphone, state your name and your topic.
Sarah Bradley. I first off want to start by thanking all of you for your service. I know it's not easy. I know some of you are brand new. Some of you have been here for a while, and the rest are in between. I want to thank you for doing what's right to the best of your ability at all times. And I want to apologize for the times that people misrepresent maybe what one person said and blame it on the entire board, or who try to create this us-them dynamic which shouldn't exist. We're all a team, and I'm grateful each and every one of you is on it. Some of you were on the board at the time. Some of you may have heard of it through the news. I just can't stay quiet about this anymore. I don't know what the proposed actions are for number one. I don't know if it's an extension or what. But this is a topic that's been rehashed over and over again. And, you know, I've heard things presented as facts that I know to be false. And I have heard things presented as false that I know to be true. Let us all be careful about what we believe. A little over 2 years ago at a work session, there was an agenda item, I believe it said trespass issue. It was not on the public-facing agenda. The board had been informed several days before that it would be discussed, but the public was presented with an agenda that conveniently left it off. During that work session, Dr. Lawson engaged in what could legally be described as defamation. He accused an individual he named Citizen A of various despicable things. He vilified this person. I'm that person. It's no surprise to anybody. My phone was blowing up that week. If you know anything about me, it takes weeks, if not months, to respond to a message, and I don't like talking on the phone. And I really didn't like walking around town and having folks come up to me. And at that first football game, when we should be focused on the players and the band and just a great night under the lights, folks coming up to me, "Are you Citizen A? Is any of that true?" I got to tell you, next to none of it was true. And the board at that time sent a very clear message to Dr. Lawson. We have laws. You said it, Mr. Gidley. We have laws. We have courts. This board made their will, although some of the faces are different. This board, as a governing body, was very clear with Dr. Lawson. We don't send letters. We go through proper authorities. If there's a problem, you go to law enforcement and you handle it. Well, let me tell you, no sheriff, no deputy, no SRO ever asked me one bit about it. I was fully denied due process. I was accused of things, including some criminal things, without the right of due process. that can and probably should have ended up in a civil suit. But he knows I'm not a litigious person. So he thought it was a safe bet. You may have thought that was the end of it. You made your wishes clear and probably assumed that he respected them. He did not. 2 months later, after I submitted a records request, the next day, by overnight mail, I get a letter from Chuck Cagle attempting to ban me from all school properties. Dr. Lawson continued to harass me. I continued to explain to him that he would not infringe upon my rights unless through a court of competence, through the right channels and procedures. Eventually, he stopped harassing me. But I feel you need to know that's the character of a man, because you see, I had the audacity to question some of his decisions. I had the audacity to request documents to figure out if my kids were safe in schools. As a new union parent during the renovation, I can tell you there are times that they were not, and staff was not either.
Thank you, Ms. Bradley. Any questions? All right. We're going to move on to the general consent item agendas. So I need a motion to approve the consent, if everybody's fine with consent item agendas, to approve the consent item agendas and the minutes from the September 9th board meeting. Motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second it.
Okay. Mr. Hansert made the motion and Ms. Jones seconded it. Any discussion? All right, let's vote, starting with Mr. Gilly, I guess.
Aye.
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 Aye. So that consent items pass 8-0. Now we move on to agenda item 1, and this has to do with the director's contract, and we are proposing a motion on this that would terminate the present director's contract with under the buyout provisions using monthly payments. And we need to add anything to that. I think that is the motion that has been proposed. So, do we have anybody making that motion?
I so move.
Second?
I'll second that motion.
All right. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, let's go to the vote.
Repeat the motion again.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I need to repeat the motion, so I apologize. The motion is to terminate the present director's contract under the buyout provision with monthly payments to the termination of the contract.
Without cause.
What's that?
Is it?
Without cause, yes. The motion is to terminate the present director's contract without cause under the buyout provision with monthly payments to the termination of the contract. Any corrections on that? We have a motion and a second. Do we want to take this to vote? Mr. Cordell?
Aye.
Aye.
Excuse me?
Are we voting?
Yeah, Jed.
Aye.
Mr. Answer?
Aye.
Ms. Jones?
Aye.
Ms. Hodge?
Aye.
Ms. Matthews? Chair votes aye. That passes 8-0.
One more. Got one more.
Oh, and Mr. Gilly, sorry.
Aye.
Almost forgot about you down there. Being too quiet. So, all right. Item number 2 on the agenda is interim director. Obviously, we will need an interim director to fulfill the duties of the director until the search committee can identify a new director for hiring. So do we have any candidates or nominations for interim director?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. I would like to nominate Mr. Prater Powell.
Okay. Do we have any other nominations? Hearing none, we have Mr. Prater Powell as, I guess we need a motion to appoint Dr. Prater Powell as interim director. And probably we need to include in that motion to authorize the chair and Mr. Cagle to execute a contract or to negotiate a contract with Dr. Powell. That is the motion. Do we have anybody making that motion?
Mr. Chair, the motion, wait a minute, the motion is that he nominated.
Yes, the motion, I'm sorry, I forgot to repeat the motion. The motion on the floor is to appoint Dr. Prater Powell as interim director and authorize the chair and the board's attorney, Mr. Cagle, to negotiate a contract with Mr. Powell, or Dr. Powell.
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Seconded.
Okay.
Mr. Hansard made that motion, correct?
I made the nomination.
He made the nomination.
He made the nomination.
Yes.
Okay, so then who's doing the motion?
It was Mr. Cordell and seconded by Ms. Yinch. So we could do just a consent, but I think probably it's better in this case to do a voice vote. So Ms. Yinch?
Aye.
Aye.
Answer?
Aye.
Ms. Hodge?
Pass.
And Ms. Matthews? And the board, aye. Mr. Gilly?
Aye.
Mr. Cordell? All right, passes 8-0.
I said pass, Tom.
Ms. Hodge passed.
Oh.
on the button.
Did she pass? Okay, so.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I thought you said, I didn't hear you down there, so, okay. It's already taken care of. Okay. All right, agenda item number 3, the TISA accountability report. I assume that is Dr. Cornelius.
Well, I guess the TISA accountability report can clear a room. All right. You've been given a copy of this year's TISA accountability report, and as you know, we're required under statute that we must submit one by November 1st of each year. The school board approves it before we send it up on the E-plan and send it to the TDOE. We also did put out public notice. We've posted it on the district website. We have put it on the district Facebook page. And I sent an email to all staff, including the draft form of the, because it is a draft form, of the TISA accountability report, and gave the email for any kind of comment. And those questions had to be answered on the very last page of the report too. And if you'll also notice, we have 4 goals. We stuck with our 4 goals. And the first one is required by law. It's legislated that every district have a 3rd grade ELA proficiency goal. That goal states for every district that you meet 70% proficiency in your ELA on your 3rd graders with their TCAP by the year 2030. You have to close that gap by a certain percentage, which is about 15%. You have to do a 15% gap closure. And then we're also bound in the report, we are bound by what we had placed originally in the 25-26 school year. We cannot change that parameter for the 3rd grade ELA, okay? We also contacted Dr. Janice Fox. She's the regional director of the core office, and she came down and worked with us and met with us on October the 2nd. And TDOE actually just released the report itself, the template, around, I believe it was the 3rd week of September. I actually sent an email to them asking, said, okay, when are we going to get the template, because it's due soon? And they said, oh, it'll be out next week. So we did this, I wanted you to know we did this as soon as we could within the applicable time frame, okay? We did not meet, the only one of our goals that we did not meet was number 1. We did not meet the ELA proficiency goal that we had set last year for 3rd grade. It did fall behind by about 5 percentage points. Came out this year to 33.5, but I wanted you to see where we are, that the 25-26 goal does say 51, I believe it's 51.5%. So for the 24-25 school year, the current school year, we decided to kind of meet in the middle, because you want goals to be attainable. You don't want them to be so unreachable. You want them to be attainable for everybody that's involved. So we kind of split the difference, that this year we would try to get to around, I believe, 44. I'll have to put my readers on. I can see fine, just have to have my readers for the fine print. So we split that at 42.5, which is a midway point between what we need for this year. And the other goals, and I will say I like the format better this year on the report, because it's more realistic, and it helps, I think it helps districts. It gave a reflection, prior year action plan. It broke it down better instead of what they did last year with us. So I like that. We do feel like that, and there are some things that we don't include in TISA. TISA is only concerned, as Dr. Fox told us, we only are concerned with the amount of money that TISA sends. So federal dollars, anything you do with federal dollars is outside this report. But there is one thing that the elementary supervisor, Ms. Sizemore, had shared with me, that we have employed, there's an NIET grant, National Institute of Excellence in Teaching, and they have provided a consultant also for grades 3, 4, and 5 ELA teachers. They're working on that this year too, but that's federal, and that's a grant, and also a grant that's outside TISA, so that's why it was not included on the action plans. The other goals, we did meet. We had our goal for Ready Grad. We met that one, so since we exceeded, if you'll notice in year 2 for 24-25, I had adjusted that one from the previous 24-25 goal met, because we met that last year. So in the previous report, I had adjusted that, and we are allowed to adjust those percentages in all goals except for the first one, again, that we're bound by law. But the high school is doing very well in their Ready Grad parameters in meeting that. I monitor that consistently throughout the year, several times, usually during the semesters, especially at the end of the first semester in January, and then especially in June before the final reports are due on all of our numbers and what we've done this year. And in fact, in January, I'll start receiving monthly reports from the state that's just TISA reports that encompasses everything, every parameter you can imagine that deals with TISA. I'll get a report on that, and I have to monitor all of those metrics. But they continue to do well. This class that we're in right now for accountability purposes, which is the 24 cohort that graduated last May, I expect very good numbers to come out of that one, because what I'm seeing so far is really good. And the 24-25 class, we're marching right along too. I will say this, that under federal accountability, the ready grad rate will help, because the high school will receive, I can tell the high school will receive a 4 on that, because they had 40% or greater of the graduating cohort to obtain ready grad status. So that's really good. And then the last 2 goals are tied in together with the middle school, and that's something else that Dr. Fox, she advises all districts to do this, but you want your TISA goal to hit every level. You want an elementary, you want a middle school, and you want high school. And we also tried to tie these goals, like a lot of other districts do too. We tied these to TISA outcomes, the TISA outcome bonus part that we end up getting at the end. And the middle school knew, and through their identification too, that 8th grade ELA and 8th grade EL math needed much work. And so that's the goal that we relied upon, because the 8th grade feeds the 9 through 12, and that's when all the graduation credits begin, is at the 9th grade. So that's extremely important. Middle school met their goals very well last year on the TISA accountability for what they had set out from the beginning, and you can see that reflected. And we use the actuals now for year 1. Year 1 will move up every year on these reports, so we do use the actual totals. And we had previously set their goal at 22.9 to close that gap, and we achieved 25.4, and we still remain, and I put that in your action plan, or in the reflection, we still remain below the statewide average of 29%, but for the coming years, we're determined to at least reach 40% proficiency by the end of the 28 school year with the ELA, 8th grade ELA at the middle school. And that will close this level, this level will increase 3.7% each year and close the gap at a faster rate than what we were closing it to begin with. So I also looked at state averages, because I'm sure everybody in this room does, I want us at least above the state average. I mean, I don't want to be below state average. And then in math, the same thing. Math made tremendous progress also. We had previously set them at an 18.1%, and they met 32.3. Okay, so they did extremely well there. We adjusted their goal for 24-25 to 35.5, again with very determined increments and very deliberate. And then the overall proficiency we raised from 40% to 45%, because the state average right now for proficiency at the 8th grade level is 39%, okay, on the 8th grade math. So we didn't want to keep it at 40, because we want to keep pushing and try to get above that state proficiency level of 40%. So we moved it to 45. So we felt pretty good about that. And Dr. Fox, she was very helpful, and she didn't have really any other suggestions for us. I've looked at ours and compared it to other districts, and I think it's, you want to be very honest and very open with your reflections and be very transparent with what we've done, because that's important, in my opinion, extremely important. So if you have any questions of me, I'll try to answer them. I don't know if I can, but if I can't, I'll find somebody that can and get back with you.
right.
We just need you to approve it, and if you approve it, then, we'll post the approved one on the webpage. We'll take that one down. We'll post and say that that's approved, and then, I'll send it in to TDOE.
And there's a public comment period?
There is, the only problem they had, well, not problem, the only requirement they had is that we made it public already. I asked Dr. Fox, I said, well, our board meeting's not until October 14th. She said, do this ASAP, get it out there because you've got this much work done. So get it out there and just say, you know, that it's a draft, which is what we did, pending your approval.
Okay.
Okay?
Do we have a motion to approve the TISA accountability report for 24, 25?
So move.
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Cordell. The motion then is to approve the TISA accountability report for 24, 25. Do we have any discussion?
Just got a question, or I just want.
Go ahead, yeah.
Thank you for everything, the way you laid it out in the fall retreat. I think that's why you don't have no questions now. You did a great job explaining it then.
And I would say that this is probably the most important discussion of the night, so, because this is important, and I know we got a tough road to climb. So I would like to propose that maybe you can come back and give us quarterly updates on the
glad
progress
to.
towards,
I'll be glad
on
to.
the implementation of the action plan. Goals are great, but unless we got a plan to implement them. So I would like to see that anyway, because this is important. And
We'll be glad to.
from my perspective anyway, the outcomes is critical,
The
so.
markers we use for quarterly, I can easily get the goal 2. I can easily get numbers from that. The middle school and elementary, and I can reach out to them. I'll just have to depend upon their benchmarking and use their because I won't have TCAP, for quarterly. But I can use their benchmarking and see how they're doing there, because I know they use AIMSweb, and I know AIMSweb has ELA and mathematics components. So, and I'm sure, beyond sure, that they're benchmarking those subjects. At least I hope they are.
Mr. Chairman, a question.
Sure.
Hey, Mr. Knudsen, if you would kind of explain this to our people that's maybe not here and maybe watching at home about what the implications of this if we don't get by a certain amount of us getting money.
Okay,
And
well-
because a lot of people, they don't understand what this is.
The only monetary part that's applied, right now, there's not anything that we've been given statutorily except for goal number 1, that we have to close that gap and meet the one by 25, 26. And like I told you at the retreat, I don't have anything in writing, but that one has the most focus, and I believe that there could be, I'm not saying I know that, I don't know.
Sure.
I believe there could be repercussions if we don't close that number 1, the goal number 1 gap, if we don't hit that marker by that time. I
Right.
do believe that. The others are basically they're tied to accountability. A lot of it's accountability and the TISA outcome bonuses, okay? And that's basically what we did, and TISA has the bonus system set up so that districts are allowed to have goals like this.
Yes,
And,
sir.
Dr. Fox said, she said your TISA outcome bonuses, that should be tied in with your TISA plan.
Yes, sir.
How you use that. And that's the extra money on top that we receive. And like last year, I said it's about close to 373,000 district-wide.
Yes, sir.
That we received from the TISA outcome bonus. I expect it, based upon what I'm seeing this year, and I haven't run the exact numbers yet, I expect it to be just a little, I think it'll come in a little bit more than that this year. I don't say it'll be a grand amount more, but I do think it'll come in a little more. And like I said, I'll have kind of a hint as to what that might be later on. I will say this much, the TISA outcome bonus calculation is supposed to drop into the E-plan by December the 15th. I do know that. I believe that's right, isn't it, April? I think that's right. I believe it drops in on December 15th. And then the one more thing for everybody to understand is what we do this year, and the reason I look so closely at every metric and every parameter is what I do this year, what we do, I'm sorry, not I, what we do
Right.
this year is how we will be funded for the 25-26
Yeah,
school year.
that's the
So
part.
it's extremely
Yeah.
important that everything be just, just so-so
Yeah.
and just right. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That was the good idea for the quarterly
Yeah,
Yeah.
updates. If you get wind of that number of
sure.
a bonus or repercussion,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
great heads up.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it, Dr. Kennison.
Questions for Dr. Cornelius? Okay, the motion is to approve the 2024 TISA Accountability Report. Mr. Hansert,
Aye.
Ms. Jones,
Aye.
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 and chair votes aye. So,
Thank you
thank you very much, Dr.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Look forward to
Very
your
good job.
quarterly report. All right, next item on the agenda is the collaborative conferencing, and Dr. Lawson, do you want to give us a rundown on that?
Well, I'm going to yield the floor right now to Miss Aaron, who is going to speak about what has been done so far. And then we'll see where it proceeds from there.
Okay,
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I apologize for my voice. My name is Leslie Barton Aaron, and I serve as the membership chair of the Coffee County Education Association. I am here tonight to submit to you a petition containing the signatures of 121 Coffee County educators regarding collaborative conferencing. As this board knows, Tennessee law recognizes that collaborative relationships between the board and its professional employees will assist in the establishment and the maintenance of an educational climate and working environment that will attract and retain a highly qualified professional staff. Collaborative Conferencing, or PECA, recognizes the obligations of the board and its teachers to collaborate on matters relating to the terms and conditions of professional employee service and sets forth new process whereby we can work together towards producing an agreement or memorandum of understanding on issues such as salary, insurance, and working conditions. We in Coffee County are very fortunate to have gone through this process with the district in the past, and we already have an existing memorandum of understanding which is valid. Your ratification of our prior MOU affirms to the educators in Coffee County that you value our work and our opinions. We appreciate the opportunity to collaborate on matters that are essential to attracting and retaining highly qualified professional staff, so that together we can achieve the highest possible educational standards in our school district. So why am I here before you tonight with another round of signatures requesting to start this process again? The answer is quite simple. The law puts the burden on educators to obtain signatures every 3 years and submit those signatures to you in the specific month of October. As this board knows, under the law, once this petition has been submitted to you, the board then has the duty to appoint an equal number of board members and professional employees to serve on a special question committee, who will set up the conditions and the particulars of conducting a confidential pool of all eligible professional employees. This confidential poll is a vote by teachers about whether they would like to engage in collaborative conferencing. As an executive board member of CCEA, I would be honored to accept an appointment on this special question committee if this board sees fit. Again, thank you for accepting this petition, and the Coffee County Education Association looks forward to working with you on this process going forward.
Any, okay, so what, we need to appoint a special question committee, and we need to engage in the collaborative conferencing process according to state law. So I guess our motion would be to appoint that committee and then start the process, so.
Yes.
Okay,
I so move.
okay.
Second.
Well, let's restate the motion. So the motion is to appoint a special question committee and to start the collaborative conferencing process with the teachers union. And so,
Okay.
okay,
Before you say that in your motion, This petition is made up of teachers that are both part of the Coffee County Education Association and not part of the Coffee County Education Association.
Okay.
That is part of the vote that they'll make, that they'll
Okay.
choose who they want to represent them.
Okay, so I'm sorry. So you were wearing the TEA T-shirt, so. All right, so, and how many representatives of each on the committee? So
The law states an equal number.
an equal number. So we can have up to 4 board members, I guess, so, and 4. Oh,
Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, the law does say an equal number, but it can't exceed the total membership of the board.
right,
So you're limited to 8 people on a side, but it cannot exceed the total membership of the board.
okay. Usually the way we've done committees is, no quorum, so that's, 4, but,
And it's, I'm not saying you have to appoint 4 board members by any stretch of the imagination. You can appoint.
well, up to 4, yeah.
You can appoint administrators at all levels who are not members of the teacher association, or who are not considered members of the collaborative conferencing unit. So school principals and assistant principals are not, supervisors are not, superintendents not, and board members are certainly not. So you can make it a mix of anybody you want, but there is a size limitation on the number of members of the board. That's how many each side would have.
Okay. And we are going to do special committees. We're going to look at that again, so we'd actually do the committee assignments there, I think. So once again, the amendment or the motion would be to appoint a special question committee made up of equal numbers of board and the teachers, and that we would start that collaborative conferencing process. So, and you made the motion? Okay. And Jennifer seconded. So, is there any discussion?
Mr. Chair, could you please have everybody to speak in their mics? I'm getting messages that people at
Okay.
home are not able to hear Jennifer and all of them. So, they're muted.
Jennifer's pretty quiet anyway, so.
Sorry.
There you go.
I have a question. How is the committee made up now? How many board members are on there?
And the last time we did the collaborative conferencing, we did 2 and 2, 2 board members and 2 teachers.
Is that what y'all would like again? Did that work well?
I personally was not on that committee. I think that's a great idea.
Okay.
How often do you meet?
For the special question committee, that depends on if they can work out the logistics of the vote, if they can agree to the terms. It just depends on how smoothly things go.
What sort of things are you voting on?
Okay, I'm going to clarify. You're not actually talking about collaborative conferencing right now. You're talking about the special question committee. Their main purpose is to develop a survey. You now have signatures initiating this process. So what you'll do is you will create, the special question committee will create a survey. It is a very simple survey. It's usually 2 to 4 questions. And there's a guidelines on what needs to be asked and that kind of thing and how it needs to be delivered. And then what will happen is, based on the results of that survey, you would take the next step in collaborative conferencing. So the special question committee, the last time, met once in order to establish that survey and how it would be delivered. To the best of my recollection, that was almost 5 years ago now, but if I remember right, it only met one time in order to develop that survey and decide how it was going to be administered.
Okay, that is the, any other questions? That is the motion is to appoint the board members anyway, of the special question committee and start the collaborative conferencing process. It has been moved and seconded. Ms. Jones, vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Mr.
Aye.
Campbell?
Aye.
Aye.
And chair votes aye. That passes 8-0. Thank you very much.
Can I get a picture handing me the petition?
Sure.
Sure. Photo op. Better get the newspaper up here too, so. All right, so we need to sign this as the board? Oh, that's just, that is our copy, okay. All right, next item on the agenda is, strangely enough, special committees. So we did want to, we want to appoint the special question committee. So generally the way we've done it is up to 4 board members on a committee. Mr. Cagle says it can be up to 8, but we had 2 last time. So if anybody wants to be on that particular committee. Anybody want to be on that?
On this one?
Yeah.
Just the, I'll
Okay.
volunteer.
Tom, I'll be on that one too.
Okay. Yeah, very short term, so.
What committee are we adding people to? I
That is
missed
the
that.
special question committee. So,
Oh, gotcha.
It's a new one.
And it was Ms. Jensen.
yeah, Ms. Jones and Ms. Inch, so. And any others want to be on that committee? Okay, so it'd be 2 and 2 again. And then we did have a request to remove Mr. Cordell from the Salary and Compensation Committee, and Ms. Matthews would like to be on that. And any other changes in committee assignments that anybody would like to make? All right, then we would need a motion to approve the changes to the Salary and Compensation Committee, adding Holly Matthews and removing Gary Cordell, and then the Special Question Committee, assigning Frida Jones and Beth Yench to that committee. So do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to make that change, please.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion on that? Should be pretty straightforward. All right. Hearing no discussion, let's move that to a vote. And Ms. Hodge?
Aye.
Matthews?
Aye.
Mr. Gilliam?
Aye.
Aye.
Stanford?
Aye.
And
Aye.
there we go. And the chair votes aye. So 7-0 with Mr. Cordell. So did you get those changes, Melissa? Okay. I got them down here. All right, next item on the agenda is the bus bid approval. Mr. Shores.
We put out for bids for 2 special needs buses and received 2 bids. One from Central State Bus Sales and the other from Mid-South Bus Center. The price has increased quite a bit, and we're recommending to go with, or the director's recommending to go with Mid-South Bus Center at $172,271 per bus, which equals up to be $344,542. The funding would be through the Coffee County Government Educational Capital Projects.
All right, we need a motion to approve Mid-South Bus Center. Well, and I guess I should ask for the director's recommendation on this.
As noted on the sheet, Mid-South Bus Center bid.
Okay. Then the motion, we need a motion to approve the Mid-South Bus Center bid for new school buses, 2 new school buses. And do we have a motion?
So moved.
Cordell, second.
Second.
Ms. Hodge. So the motion then is to approve the Mid-South Bus Center bid for $344,542 for 2 school buses. Any discussion at this time? Questions?
Is this just replacing 2 buses that are going out of
This
duty
would
or
be
whatever
replacing 2 buses, yes,
that we can no longer use?
correct.
Any other questions? All right, let's move to a vote. Ms. Hodge?
I went first last time. Does that matter?
What's that?
I went first last time. Does that matter?
I can't hear you.
I went first last time. Does that matter?
Oh, Ms. Matthews then. So, I'm sorry.
No, I didn't know if it mattered or not.
I had it wrong then.
Aye.
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 Ms. Jones?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and the chair votes aye. The motion passes 8-0 to approve the Mid-South Bus Center bid for $344,542. Agenda item number 9, or number 7 would be the Student Data Privacy Consortium.
Yes, sir.
Damewood.
We're taking a proactive approach to protecting our student data. The Student Data Privacy Consortium, SDPC, works with schools and vendors to make sure that the student data is handled properly. It collaborates with the school districts from 28 states, vendors, and other people to develop standardized agreements, data privacy agreements, or DPAs. There's lots of acronyms in this thing. These agreements govern how student data is treated by vendors providing educational tools and services. These agreements focus on protecting student privacy, ensuring compliance with state and federal regulations like the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act. You might have heard of FERPA. Child Online Privacy Protection Act, COPA or COPPA, I've heard it both ways, and established clear protocols for data sharing, storage, and security of personally identifiable information, or PII. You might have heard that acronym as well. One of the core components of SDPC work is to facilitate that DPA between school districts and vendors. These DPAs outline the specific terms and conditions for data uses, specifying what data is collected, how it's stored, who has access to it. All of the vendors that we use have student data privacy policy or pledges that protect PII. We already look and make sure that they follow this FERPA and COPA. However, they're pledges and policies. The SDPC provides a customizable template for these agreements, making it easier for schools and vendors to comply with state and federal legal requirements and maintain transparency with student, parent, and educators. Vendors are familiar with this format, so it makes it very easy to get an agreement in place. By having the vendor sign this agreement, the vendor now has a legal obligation. That's the big difference. They're legally bound to do what they say and what's in the agreement. With a pledge, they can, that's what we pledge, but when it comes down to brass tacks, they may not do it. So this actually holds their feet to the fire. There's no cost for us to join this, and what I'll be asking is for the board to approve that we can go and use this organization to handle and manage our agreements. There's no cost to the district to use the service. However, it does cost money to join, but that's being paid by the Tennessee Education Technology Association, TETA, which I'm a member of. And it's kind of similar to TALS and TSBA. It's an association for tech directors, and this is one of the things that the organization provides a service for. There are over 60 Tennessee districts that are a member. And here's an example how it works. If you're familiar with how piggybacking works with contracts, it's basically the same way. Sevier County, which was one of the ones that really started working with this, getting these data privacy agreements, would go to a company and say, here's the agreement. They would get that agreement, and then they would send it to SDPC, or what? That's why I have this. Yeah, SDPC. It's hard to remember all these initials. And that agreement would be put in their registry. Then, as another school district, I can go and just download this real simple form and say, Coffee County wants to piggyback or use this same agreement. I sign something. It's sent to SDPC. They get it to the vendor. They agree to it. Then That's all that there's to it. And we have over 35 companies that we deal with that have student data. And usually the agreements are for 3 years. And so in a nutshell, it does the following. Page 2 states that it states who owns the data and and who has control, which is us. Defines how a vendor may or may not use the student data, because I mean they have to use the student data or they can't function in certain ways. Prohibits targeted advertising to students. Gives schools districts the right to audit a vendor. Defines minimum acceptable data security requirements. Requires timely district notification in the event of a data breach. And I'll go ahead and say this. Can this group or can I guarantee that their data won't be breached? No. If anybody says that, they're lying. So it's just the way it is. But this is the best we can do to function in a modern society. It's legal and enforceable agreement between the vendor and the school district, not just a private display. I'll answer that. Once it's signed, it supersedes whatever their terms and services are. That agreement will actually supersede any of that, what they have, if there's a conflict. And it also requires vendors to conduct criminal background checks on all its employees with access to PII. So by allowing this, we can quickly get the agreements that we need, and it's just it makes sure it's legal. And no offense to somebody in the room, we don't have to hire a lawyer to do this. So I'd like for the board to agree to use this organization to, they don't really manage our contracts, but as a vessel to get our contracts or agreements, not contracts, wrong word, agreements done.
So how specifically would we state a motion?
We can use, Coffee County District can use the Student Data Privacy Consortium to
house student data, just like
not house student data, house the agreements.
Okay, the student data privacy agreements per the first line of this letter. So
yeah.
So a motion, and let me make sure this is acceptable to you. A
Okay.
motion would be to use the Student Data Privacy Consortium, SDPC, resource registry to create and house our student data privacy agreements.
That's it.
All right.
Any
Say-
questions?
You're gonna say it again?
We are
All right.
taking a proactive. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about me.
Without going through all that again, the motion would be for the board to approve the use, or Coffee County School System to approve the use of the Student Data Privacy Consortium, SDPC, resource registry to create and house our student data privacy agreements.
Sounds good to me.
Does that sound good?
Yep. Any
All right.
questions?
Did you get that, Melissa? Okay. That is all right. So
I'm just gonna say so move.
Okay. Mr. Gilly and Mr. Cordell.
We'll play it back on tape.
All right. Any discussion, questions for Mr. Damewood?
I already called Mr. Damewood to talk about this one. I knew it was over my head on that.
All right. Any other questions? All right. We're back to you. Let's go to a vote. We're back to you, Mr. Gilly.
Aye.
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 All right. Chair votes aye. Passes 8-0. Next up, we have use of facilities, Coffee County High School auditorium for the TCAT LPN graduation. Request to waive fees. Dr. Lawson?
Well, I believe we have a representative from TCAT present with us tonight if there's specific questions. I will remind the board, there has been a precedent set for the waiver of most facility fees with organizations with which the school district has an active partnership. I think that Mr. Skipper can announce, he can confirm that that TCAT and Coffee County Schools have been active partners for a number of years. Now, if one thing that the board will have to decide is whether all fees are waived, because I did notice on the facilities usage request, it does mention lighting and sound, and so I don't know if that has been worked out or not, but usually somebody has to be paid for that particular skill set. But I'll yield to the representative from TCAT if he wants to speak. Please.
My name is Daniel Bratcher. I am the External Relations Director for TCAT in McMinnville and also the Director of the TCAT Coffee County facility. The nursing pending graduation that Dr. Lawson was talking about is generally it's an event. The nurses, when they can, I think maybe around 12:30, hopefully, they'll have to come in, set up a few things. It's about a 45-minute, max an hour event with the nursing pending. They do a couple of the pledges and stuff that they normally do. With a speaker, generally President Dr. Edmonds and I are there with them, and probably within an hour and a half after the event starts, they clean that up and get out of the facility. There's, like Dr. Lawson said, some lighting, and they do a slideshow, a few things like that. But that's generally all it is.
And are you requesting all the fees be waived, or did you get the lighting worked out, or?
We have not currently.
Okay.
Just kind of waiting on.
So are you planning on doing that?
We would like
Okay.
to, if possible.
Let me defer to Mr. Skipper and Mr. Parsley, who can speak more intelligently about what's exactly needed in the theater at that time.
Yeah, I think we were talking about lighting. They just need lights.
Grab a mic.
This mic? Yeah, as far as the lighting, I think it's just, they want the lights on, so that's not a big deal, right? And so otherwise, I think we're gonna put a speaker out there for them to use the microphone, so it's very, very minimal.
So really no
So,
extra fees.
Since they're not using the centralized system, that shouldn't require personnel that are trained on our particular systems. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So yes, then it would not be unusual to waive fees in that situation. And you would have, will there be, I'll ask just to make sure we fit what's happened in the past. Will there be a school district?
Custodial fees need to be.
Custodial fees would still apply? Okay.
So-
Then that would be the person that would be present as a school district employee.
Waive everything but custodial fees?
Yes.
Is that, okay. All right.
Any other questions?
Any questions?
Thank you.
All right, so we need a motion to waive waive everything but the custodial fees for the TCAT LPN graduation request for CHS Auditorium.
So moved.
Okay,
I'll second that.
and Mr. Hansard. Frida. All right, any discussion? All right, I think we're Mr. Cordell.
Aye.
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 Ms. Gilly?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. That passes 8-0. All right, next up, we have board meeting times, and that is you, Mr. Hansard.
Well, I had several people to talk about the meeting times and about not being able to get here on time for the meetings if they started at 4:30, and a lot of people had concerned to me about changing the starting time till 5:30 or to make it a little bit more feasible for them to get here. And I'd like to make a motion to move the Board of Education time to 5:30.
All right, that is the motion. Do we have a second? Any second? Then that motion does fail. So we will keep the board meeting times the way they are.
Could we make a different motion?
You can, yes.
I really liked what Ms. Beth brought up about 5 o'clock in the middle meeting time. So I would make a motion to change our board meeting times to 5 o'clock.
Okay. There is a new motion on the floor to change the meeting times to 5 o'clock. Do we have a second? I'll second that. Okay. And any discussion?
Mr. Chair, did we already have a motion on the floor?
We did, it failed for lack of second.
Okay.
I believe that's correct, yes.
My reason for going with the 5 o'clock time was that we have a lot of teachers and principals who come, and your job really ends around 3 or 3:30. So to have you attend this meeting and have to stay that many extra hours, but we also want our parents to be able to come, and so trying to find, yes, they may have to get off work a half hour early for some of them to make the meeting, but there needs to be some fairness in there for our teachers as well.
And I guess I think that if we move the meeting time back, then we would probably have the principals go earlier on in the meeting, change the agenda a little bit. Would that work for the principals, so you don't have to sit here through all this excitement? Okay. Sure.
Can I ask a question?
We do.
I just wanted to encourage you to consider our student ambassadors as well. I appreciate what you said about, potentially having principals maybe make some comments earlier in the meeting, but our student ambassadors are here for a lengthy time as well. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Understood. Thank you for that comment. Any further discussion? Student ambassadors, do you have anything to say to me? Okay. Okay, there's a motion on the floor to change the board meeting times to 5 o'clock rather than 4:30. I think we've done our discussion, so we can take a vote at this time, and I think that, who we got? Ms. Yench?
Aye.
Mr. Hansard?
Aye.
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 Mr. Gilly?
Aye.
Mr. Cordell? Mr. Gilly, did you vote aye? Okay, got it. The chair votes aye. That passes 8-0, so the board meeting times will change to 5 o'clock. Next item on the agenda is we have a presentation of the board by Brittany Keller. Is she here?
Hello. First and foremost, I would like to thank you for your time and several of you for your assistance, as well as allowing me to speak today. Teachers possess the power to inspire and motivate, helping students to discover their strengths and conquer their challenges. Teachers do not just teach school curriculum, they often help students overcome difficult situations and serve as mentors and role models, and help to build up each other's self-esteem. However, what happens when teachers are misusing their leadership role and using it for control and manipulation? Please understand that everything I'm about to share with you has not only been addressed with this teacher, but also with Ms. Potts and Dr. Lawson to no avail, and actually has intensified for my son to varying degrees. This is what my son Liam has experienced not only this year in 3rd grade, but also when he was in 1st grade from the same teacher, Mrs. Amanda McCain. Taking away recess and forcing children to walk the trees was a common theme throughout 1st grade for mine, as well as many other 6 and 7-year-olds. My son personally lost recess for saying things such as, "Last one is a rotten egg," and for doodling on his paper when he was done with his busy work, which seemed minor compared to things other children were doing in the classroom, such as physically slapping the teacher's bottom without any repercussions. Liam became nervous and anxious to go to school. Liam's therapist, who we have outside of school, due to the punishments he was receiving in class, recommended a 504 meeting due to ADHD, since the majority of times he was in trouble seemed to revolve around those tendencies such as doodling. When Liam's therapist recommended the 504 meeting, on the paperwork filled out by Mrs. McCain, she denied the punishments or the behavioral concerns that my son had been losing recess and complete recess, and therefore seemingly sabotaged the help he so desperately needed to be successful in her class, while hiding the fact he was constantly being punished in her classroom. This year, within the first few weeks of school of 3rd grade, my son came home terrified that he was told when they lose recess this year, they were going to be secluded in a dark room by themselves for punishment. I assured him that surely this was not the case, but to let me know if he had any more concerns. A few days later, Liam had come home with these concerns that he had lost recess time due to not answering a question quickly enough in class when he was called upon. I reached out to the teacher to confirm that this is what happened, and then escalated this concern to the principal, as I did not want my child to suffer and feel like he was a bad kid, like he perpetually did in 1st grade. I received a call from Dr. Lawson, unexpectedly and unplanned, while I was at work. When I answered, he let me know who he was and that I was on speakerphone in Mrs. Potts' office. I had no time to have any information ready or be prepared for a meeting on a phone call. Dr. Lawson seemed to dismiss my concerns, stating that I should just bring any additional concerns to Mrs. Potts' attention. After reaching out about concerns and the call from Dr. Lawson, the next day when Mrs. McCain taught my son in class, my son came home extremely upset. He informed me that Mrs. McCain forced him to get up in front of the class during education time and asked him if he was mad at her, to which he replied yes. She then continued to ask him who was being bad until he was coerced into saying himself. She then told him that she loved him and asked him if he didn't love her. Liam was extremely anxious to upset her and told me he shrugged his shoulders and sheepishly said yes because he did not want to get in trouble. But that is not all. Then she forced him to physically hug her in front of the class, even though he did not want to. All of this appears to be direct retaliation in conjunction with me discussing my concerns on taking away his recess unnecessarily. Not only is this an abuse of power, it is predatory, it is intimidating, and it is manipulative, and it should not be tolerated by any person that has contact with children or other at-risk populations. When I brought my additional concerns up to Ms. Potts, my concerns seemed to be dismissed, stating that, well, she had known Liam a long time and she did love him, but she would look into it further. When she questioned Mrs. McCain on this matter, it was denied, and I received a call back later that afternoon letting me know that Ms. Potts was indeed able to verify what my son Liam had said. To my knowledge, nothing further has happened or been investigated, similarly to the same concerns I had when Liam was in 1st grade. It appears that this unprofessional behavior is allowed to continue with little to no consequence to anyone but the children. I am pleading with you for a resolution of this by asking for an investigation and a further meeting with the Director of Education and/or Ms. Potts and Amanda McCain and myself. We must have professional boundaries where children feel safe in an environment that facilitates learning. Thank you for your time today, and I'm hopeful that this will prevent further manipulation and retaliation and abuse to other children in our school system.
Ms. Keller, what specific action would you like the board to take in this case?
I would like a further investigation into the behaviors of Mrs. McCain.
By who?
By the Director of Education.
Okay. So you would like to see a further investigation into the actions of the teacher
Yes, sir.
and by the Director of Education?
Yes, sir,
Okay.
as I feel
Or
that
the
there
Director
are
of Schools.
other concerns, and other parents are afraid of the retaliation that my son received.
Okay. I would need a motion then, if we want to do that. Trying to think how, so the board would then direct, and Ms. Cagle, you may need to help me out on this, the board would need to direct the director of schools to have a sit-down meeting with Ms. Keller?
Could I ask one question?
Okay.
You would have to direct the director of schools to investigate this and make a formal report back to the board. I would caution the board in the responsive report, because this is a matter of student records covered by all the confidentiality laws, but you certainly, this board has the authority to direct the Office of the Director of Schools to perform an investigation report to you the results that are found in the investigation.
Okay. So the motion would be to
And,
direct.
and
the
Mr.
director-
Chair, I don't mean to interrupt, but if in that, if you wanted to define whether that is the outgoing director or the interim director.
I would assume that would be the interim director by the time we get it set up, so the motion would be to direct the interim director to have a sit-down meeting with Ms. Keller and report back to the board with his findings. Is that pretty close? Okay.
I will make that motion.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second.
Okay. Ms. Hodge?
Thank you for being brave and coming up here and telling us this. I know that was not easy for you.
Discussion. Oh, the motion then is to require or direct the interim director to have a sit-down meeting with Ms. Keller and report back to the board with his findings. So, motion. It was. Okay, it was Ms. Hodge and Ms. Jones. Any discussion?
So basically what we're doing, it's not putting blame on anybody, it's just looking at the situation
Right,
and reporting back to us.
right. To look into it and then report back to us, so we can get a full range of. Any discussion? Okay, I think we're back to Ms. Jones.
Aye.
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 And the chair votes aye. That passes 8-0. All right, the next up is Ms. Jones, the bleachers.
Oh. Didn't know
Well,
I was on the agenda.
Maybe we can ask Mr. Shores to give us a rundown on the situation of the bleachers. I think there was some misunderstanding on, we had a bid, we pulled back, the bid came in higher because we weren't, because they needed to fabricate some parts. We still weren't gonna be ADA compliant, so we pulled it back and decided to look at it again. And then it just kind of, the board didn't bring it back up again, so is that correct?
Okay, I can run through it real quickly.
Sure.
Do you want me to go all the way back to 5 years ago or just this year?
I think go all the way back so we get a full
Okay.
history, so.
Approximately 5 years ago, we were looking at some problems, repairs that needed to take place with the high school bleachers. The motors on one side of the bleachers, one of the bays, one side was actually going out and was not pulling the bleachers in and out. So we, at that time, Dr. Lawson and I suggested looking into replacing the bleachers. Then the price, and I have it in my office, was right at $400,000 for the entire, both sides for the bleachers. It was voted at that time to not move forward with changing out the bleachers, rather than the board wanted us to go ahead and replace the parts and retrofit motors, and we did so. So we retrofitted and fit the motors in and took care of it at that time, and did a couple more changes that was required some of the railing on the outer sides was less than what they call the fist test. So we had to correct that so that we made it safe. So that was taken care of. We put in approximately, I want to say it's either $25,000 to $30,000 at that time to repair the bleachers. And we did that, and that's where we are at that point. Earlier this year, the board, I brought it back to the board. It was mentioned about the handrails again, needing handrails for some of our visitors that comes to the gym. And so I went and got some prices for what it would cost to include putting handrails and also widening the aisles so that the handrails could work that way. And that price came in at $43,097. Then also at that same time, we were talking about installing intermediate steps, which would be a half step, because our steps are really deep, and this would actually pull them in more like what a more modern bleacher is. And that price was $50,510. It did pass at that time 9-0 for us to move forward with it. That was using ESSER funds. That was $93,607.92. Well, when we started setting things up for the company to come in to do the work, they started realizing they underpriced the actual work of the quote that they gave us for widening the rails, and it actually increased from that $43,000 up to $106,936.05. And if we continued at that, it had to require, of course, a board approval, and the total price with it in the intermediate steps was going to be $157,446.42. The board decided that was not the direction to go, and they failed it at 9-0 was the vote. At that same date, the company, I had the gentleman come in, the vendor, to explain the reason why it went up in price and explained it to the board. But he also provided me at that time a cost for a complete change out of bleachers and to replace them completely. And at that time, the price was $731,490.62 to replace the bleachers completely. Since then, last week, before we went out on fall break, I contacted the bleacher company to get updated numbers, and they have sent me updated numbers so that you have something to work with. And to add the handrails and widen the aisles and put the intermediate steps, the price actually has gone up even more. The price now is $195,919.72 to widen the aisles, put in the handrails in the aisles. That's an increase of $38,473. I also checked to see what the price, if there was any change in the price for changing out the bleachers and putting in new bleachers. And that price actually has dropped since that time. And they actually have dropped $8,539. So now the price is $722,951.62 to change out the bleachers. And the one question that did come up during the fall retreat, did this also include the removal of the bleachers? And I didn't think so at the time. I checked on it. That is removal of the bleachers as well as the install of the bleachers. So that includes that's the total price to get new bleachers put into our gym at the high school. I think that's pretty much it. I did check on lead time, if that was a direction, if we wanted to do it, if this is a direction that the board wanted. There was a question at the fall break or fall retreat, is if we want to do it this next summer, could we get it done if we voted to go that direction? And if we get it voted in by the November board meeting, they said there wouldn't be any problem with us getting it done during the summertime. It's more than anything, it's first come, first serve on getting it. So if they get a bunch of swamped with, purchase of bleachers, then of course it's going to fill up on their time. So that's kind of where we are. It takes approximately a month to get the bleachers, the old ones out, new ones installed. It doesn't take as long as I thought it would, but that, of course, you never know with shipping and all those type of things, how things work. But they felt like if we got it, if we wanted to go that direction, by the November meeting, we should still be able to do that. I think that's all the information. Does that give you kind of what you wanted?
Yeah, exactly. Would that give us, would we need to get 3 bids on that or bid it out?
Actually, no. This group is a cooperative purchasing agent that they work through. I believe it's Sourcewell that they use, and we have a contract with Sourcewell, so it would not require a bidding since we do have that cooperative purchasing ability.
Okay. And if we just went with the handrails, that, if I remember right, that did not make us ADA compliant, correct?
That still would not make the bleachers ADA. Well, I wouldn't say they would not be compliant with the standards that are there as well as the ADA, yes.
Okay. So I guess the question for the board is, do we want to go with new bleachers or do we want to do the handrails or nothing?
Your brand new bleachers, are they fully compliant and fully ADA compliant?
They wouldn't be able to sell it to us otherwise. Now, I did not check into more depth of looking at the bleachers, everything about them. I got the price from them. I still think if that's the direction we wanted to go, that there needs to be a little bit more research done before we finally say, yes, let's go this way and make sure it's what we want. But I feel like it is.
So we could actually go ahead, Ms. Cordell.
What would be the seating capacity of the new bleachers as compared to?
I did get that information, and give me 1 second on it, and I will tell you. Okay. Understand on the bleachers that we have now, there's a sign right on the inside of the door that tells what the seating capacity of the bleachers are, and it says 2,971 capacity. Now, understand me saying that, I don't know what measurement they used to come up with it because that was done several years ago. So I don't know if it was a 15-inch, a 20-inch. I don't know what the measurement was. I can only tell you that there is a sign that says the seating capacity is 2,971. The new bleachers would be 2,378 seating capacity. And once again, even with that one, I can't tell you what the width that they used. I could ask them, but ultimately I'm just going by numbers that was given to me that's over there, and also what he has given to me. Of course, the current numbers is going to be current, what they consider for a seat.
Do you know what the seating capacity would be if we just widened the aisles and went with the handrails?
I actually had that back
Capital projects.
quite a while back, but I couldn't find it, so I couldn't locate those actual numbers. But what we would be losing at each aisle, a minimum, I would say, 2 seats at each row on each aisle going up. So you have 3 aisles, so each set of seats would be 6 seats, and then you have a total of, I could have figured that out, 21, I think there's 21 different, so you think it's 126 for the entire gym, or?
For one side.
For one side. So 126 times, multiply that by 2 gives you your 250, 51, 2, 52.
No, I think it'd be 6 seats per row, and I think there is 24 or 26 rows to each side, I believe.
Once again, I got that in there.
Yeah, but it's.
It's
I
right
think
there,
it was
25,
it was
26.
200 or
yes.
300 seats anyways.
We will lose seats. The thing is, you're looking at, if we make repairs, that's basically a third of the price of a brand new set of bleachers for the entire gym. That's your cost, but that's a decision that you have to make as a board, which direction you want to go. Or if you want to do any, as Ms. Jones said, you have three choices basically there, and the third choice is do nothing.
If we go with the repair, and maybe since Mr. Cagle's here, he can tell us this. If we start working on these bleachers knowing they're not compliant, and we do not make them compliant, will we be liable?
Mr. Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the board, and with the administrators here, if you once you undertake a repair project on something like this, it's liable if you have to hire an architect on this, that the architect's going to tell you have to bring the set of bleachers up to standard. Now, there's always a complaint that can be filed with federal administrative agencies that you have bleachers that are not in compliance, and the federal agencies can make you come into compliance. So it's any lawyer, I think, who does this, who advises the school board, says would advise a board, if you're going to do a remodeling project on a building, on a set of bleachers, on access to a field or anything, you need to bring that field up to, or that set of bleachers or whatever it is, you need to bring that up to standard in order to avoid liability. So you have liability because you're not in compliance. You have liability if somebody falls and gets hurt. Either way.
Okay, thank you.
Do we want to postpone this until next month, till we can get all the numbers and stuff together on our screen, or do we want to make some action right now?
I think we need to
Mr.
discuss,
Chair.
I think we need to discuss possible funding and everything before
Right.
we
Yeah.
make any kind of permanent decisions in that.
So why don't we make a motion, motion to postpone this to the November 11th board meeting, and direct Mr. Shores to get us the information on the bid, or the costs, detailed costs, and funding options.
Mr. Chair, I don't know that I'm going to be able to get you any different numbers than I have. The numbers I have are pretty well.
Okay.
So I don't know what you're going to want, because what I've given you is the new numbers. So if I call them tomorrow, they're going to give me the same numbers.
Same numbers, yeah.
I don't know.
We
what
just
you
want to
want.
know where the money's coming from.
Yeah, we just want to know where the money's coming from, and I assume that would come out of fund balance, or
That would be up to the board.
or capital projects. Do we have?
Capital projects, well, right now, the capital projects has that money in it because we're looking at the lights at all the athletic fields. So that's, once again, decision of the board on that part. It's however you want me to go.
It would require a budget amendment either way. If you use capital restricted funds or fund balance, it would require a budget amendment.
Okay, so we can make the decision tonight, so we would need a motion to either do the handrail repairs, or to move to replace the bleachers based on the prices that Mr. Shores has given us.
Well, and what you're telling us, that we either do the bleachers or the lighting, and
No, ma'am.
what
No,
were
ma'am.
you saying?
If you remember when we talked at the capital
You're
projects
saying
meeting,
there's not enough money for both in capital outlay.
what I'm saying, in capital outlay, correct.
Okay, that's what I was trying.
And I'm going to refer back to April on that one.
Right.
So in our current budget, there's no funding in our current budget, but we do have restricted capital funds that we could pull from through a budget amendment.
Well, I think this is too involved for us. It's my opinion to make any kind of decision on that. Just without the capital outlay committee looking at the funding. This is too much money for us to just say, okay, we're going to do this when we've got the lighting already. We're wanting that also. So What do you,
So you
I
just
mean,
want
what-
to table this and send it to the capital outlay committee?
well, I don't think we need, I think the
Sorry,
community would not want us to table this.
We
I
just-
mean,
we just
I
did-
think we need
that's
to keep
exactly what the
pursuing
capital-
how we're gonna do it. We need to do it. We just need to figure out how.
Yeah, capital projects, this is exactly what capital projects in here tonight to decide, was if you wanna fix them or if you wanna put new ones. Cause we went through all that in the capital projects meeting.
We have a capital projects committee meeting coming up, so.
We just had
We
one
just
2
had
weeks
one
ago.
Okay.
2 weeks ago, and this is, plan that was brought here was fix and repair, try to bring some numbers for the board to consider with a replacement or fix and repair either one. So it's already been through the committee, it's already here, you know, still wanna postpone it for a meeting.
And there were other things that's on the capital projects that was requested for information as well. So there's a lot going on, and it's really, what do you want to spend the money on, and in what direction?
Mr. Chair, I will remind the board that a postponement, Mr. Shores has explained, he's got the information, the price is not gonna change in the next month, he can't get new information from the same company. You can postpone just based upon the fact that you need more time to consider or something like that if individual board members hesitated to make this decision at this time. I believe Mr. Shores explained that the November board meeting would give, the company expects that would give sufficient time for the work still to be accomplished in the summer of 2025. But after that, you'd probably be pushing your luck a little bit on getting it done. So the postponement, please understand, the postponement may not result in new information. It may simply result in time to give further consideration to the information that you already have.
Got it. Good point.
Are we okay to talk? I mean, we don't have a is it okay for us
We
to
don't,
talk?
we don't have a motion,
Okay.
so, you know.
No, I'm for what the capital outlay committee decided. As far as the bleachers are concerned, I think that's something we're gonna have to do, and we need to look to see how we can fund it. I don't wanna sabotage anything that the capital outlay committee decided upon with the lights. Is that correct, Mr. Gilly?
I think we talked about that in that meeting as well,
right.
and both of them were gonna have to come from fund balance.
Okay.
Yeah,
Whether we repaired or replaced, it was gonna have to
No,
come
I was
from
talking, yes, right. And the
Right.
lights were
So
coming
it's
from
one of the-
capital outlay.
Yeah.
So
Correct, and
that
that would
needs
be
to
for-
stay that way. I don't know how that got all confused, because that was not my intent.
The lights, actually, money was set aside for the lights
Right.
during, gosh, that was probably the May meeting, maybe?
Right.
And it was, at that time, it was talked about putting it towards lights, but of course, the board can do what they will.
That
wish.
wasn't my intent in doing away with the lighting at all. It's just looking at what we're gonna do in the future, because we've got to do something, and how we're gonna fund it. And I don't think it's there right now.
Unless we do away with the lights, we can do that.
Right, but I
And-
think that we already passed, or we're not passed it, but discussed it.
We d-
Well, they
Yeah,
both
you
have to
can,
come from
yeah,
fund
that's
balance.
the
They
way I
both have
understand
to.
it. You can either drop lights and pull this from capital outlay, or we leave the lights alone and we pull from fund balance and cover this.
Yeah. I think the money's there either way, right, Robert? Yeah, I think the money's there either way.
So I don't think there would be enough in the capital restricted fund to do both.
No,
So
there-
what
there
Mr.
would-
Gilly is saying is correct. So you would choose what you want to come from capital and choose what you want to come from fund balance, from
Right.
general, just
Yeah, you're gonna have to pull
unrestricted
from
fund
both
balance.
either way, so
Right.
you just choose. which
One way or the other, some's gonna have to come from fund balance. Or if there's another, I don't know any other place.
As partial as I am to baseball and softball, which a lot of y'all know, we just got new bleachers at the baseball and softball fields, and I think this, my opinion, is our bleachers at the high school is we need to get ADA compliant. We're balancing on getting somebody hurt, and I know Mr. Gilly made a good comment of, they've been that way since 1976 when we put them in. But I would like to see about, just putting a new set in. Because they're 45 years old. And that's my opinion.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
I'm going to ask, are the lights a safety issue, or is it just so, I mean, I know that the bleachers can be a safety issue. Are the lights a safety issue as well?
Yes. And the reason why, it's actually both. And it's because if the lights go out at any of our fields, athletic fields, it's pitch black. And to get them to turn back on, it takes approximately 30 minutes. So you're sitting there with a very dark field with nobody, with all the people there, and LED lights, you flip the switch, if the power's on, they come right back on. That's really a big difference and we're talking about all of our athletic fields. And then also we have some athletic fields, one of them doesn't even have lights. So it would be putting lights on it.
That wasn't on the agenda, but. Well, I think, some of the discussion is that we would, the motion would be to postpone this to the November meeting where we would actually vote on it, because that's the last time we could really, pass it and get it done in time, right? So I need a motion to postpone this to the November 11th board meeting. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we postpone the talking of the bleachers to the November meeting.
We have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. And any further discussion on that?
This does not, doing this, we were not voting on the lighting tonight, were we?
No.
Okay, so all this is just deferring this thing. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't want to
We can talk
mess
about
that
which
up.
one we want to
No,
do.
there was many things in the capital
Right.
projects meeting that day, and this is the only one
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Any further discussion? All right, then I believe Ms. Hodge?
Aye.
Aye.
Cordell?
Aye.
Dench?
Aye.
Mr. Hansard?
Aye.
Aye.
Jones and Chair passes 8-0 to postpone to November. All right, next agenda item is Budget Amendment 141-2025-2.
So this is a budget amendment to bring additional revenue into our general 141 fund. We did have this in our original budget, but we received additional revenue. And when the budget was made in E-Plan for the state special education preschool grant, we had to revise some lines. So this is the revision of that budget amendment. So the top section, you'll see there's 35,803 in additional revenue, and then the appropriations lines is where we're removing the funds from and then putting it in the bottom section of this budget amendment. This does not affect fund balance, and the total budget amendment is for $63,826.45.
All right. We need a motion to approve Budget Amendment 141-2025-2.
So move.
Second.
All right. Any discussion, any questions for Ms. Melson? This is basically just moving things around in line items.
Yeah, and this is additional revenue coming through our general 4141 budget, and so you guys have to approve that, even though it's already approved in E-Plan. So
Alright.
yes, it's just additional revenue and moving around funds.
Okay. Ms. Matthews, vote on this?
Aye.
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 And chair votes aye. That passes 8-0. Budget Amendment 141-2025-3.
So this is for the Innovative School Models Grant. It's for $951,539.43. This is the carryover from the grant from last year. This is year 3 of the grant, I believe. Basically, the top section is to bring in the revenue into our budget, and then we're going to use the bottom section to fund teachers and some equipment, and then the remaining part of the CTE building. This does not affect fund balance.
So we need a motion to approve 141-2025-3 budget amendment.
So move.
Second?
Second.
Okay, so the motion is to approve budget amendment 141-2025-3. Any discussion?
Who did the second? I'm sorry.
Ms. Hodge?
Did you say this is carryover?
Yes, ma'am. This is the remaining funds that are left on the Innovative School Models Grant.
951,000?
Mm-hmm. So
Carryover?
Yeah, so it's a 3-year grant. So this is, I think we're in our 2nd or 3rd year of the grant.
Okay, so what was done was budgeted what each year should be instead of.
Right. So this, I think we started with maybe $3 million.
Okay.
And so we've whittled that. We've spent everything but the 951, and I think we'll probably close this out as long as that CTE building gets done this school year. I think you won't see this next year.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? We are voting to approve budget amendment 141-2025-3, and I believe we're back to Mr. Gilly.
Aye.
Mr. Cordell?
Not here.
He's not here.
Oh, he's not here. Ms. Inch?
Aye.
Mr. Hansard?
Aye.
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 And chair votes, that passes 7-0. So budget amendments 141-2025-4. Ms. Melton?
Okay, so this budget amendment is to use restricted funds that we brought forward from last school year. So in the categories in the top are the sections of our budget from last year that we were able to carry over. So there was 1, 2, 3 grants within those categories, and then we had some restricted funds from our family FRC area, from Virtual Academy, from costs, CTE, and maintenance that we were able to restrict. This money was money that we didn't spend last year, and we're able to restrict these funds and bring them back into our budget for this school year. And so this is a normal process. We have we typically do this every year. So we take these funds that we've carried over from last year and we bring them into our budget to be able to use them in the vocational area for equipment and family resource for children that are in need, and for costs and CCVA to be able to buy supplies with, and then maintenance for anything large items that could happen within the school year that we would need the extra funds for. So this budget amendment does affect fund balance, but it affects your restricted fund balance. And if you look at the bottom of your budget amendment, you can see that it brings your restricted fund balance down to $8.7 million. And I will take, if you guys have additional questions, I will take those about this budget amendment.
Okay. We need a motion to approve budget amendment 141-2025-4. Any motion?
So move.
Robert?
So move.
Mr. Gilly, second?
I second it.
Okay. Mr. Hansard. Any discussion, questions?
I have a question. You said this affects fund balance.
It affects the restricted fund balance. So we have unassigned, which is your fund balance that you can use for anything.
Right.
And then we have areas that we can restrict, like maintenance, CTE, grants. And so that is what's combined as your restricted fund balance. And so those restricted items can only be used in certain
Certain
categories.
things, right.
So like in the maintenance department, you can only
Right.
use rollover maintenance funds for the maintenance department. And CTE funds can only be used in the CTE department. And capital funds can only be used for capital projects.
So this is a carryover too of 602,000?
Yes, so we're allowed to restrict certain areas of the budget to be able to restrict funds for uses in future years. Yes, ma'am.
So there's not a percentage that you're, I mean, I didn't know, there's a certain amount you can't carry over. I guess it doesn't apply to this.
No, there's not I've asked the auditors because I thought that we were getting to that point a couple of years ago, but there's no set amount that we, there's no threshold that we can carry over.
Where it says other charges, family, 101,575, what does that cover? What
So
does
that
cover?
is the Family Resource Center. So that would be Miss Davis's funds to help buy supplies or for children who.
Does that include salaries or anything, or is that just other charges?
They're donations. So this is all community donations that we've received to be able to use for school supplies or for homeless children, for children in need. For if she gets the call from the schools for a child that needs supplies, this is what that's used for.
So we've received 101,000 in donations?
So that has over the last 2 to 3 years. And I guess the reason why she's not really used, why you see this balance, is because we've had other grants that have helped her not have to use these funds. So she has been able to restrict these funds and carry them over because those grants are gone, and this will help her fund in the future.
Further questions? Questions? All right, the motion is to approve Budget Amendment 141-2025-4. And we're starting with Mr. Cordell.
Aye.
Ms. Hinch?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
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 Ms. Gilly?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, 8-0. And Ms. Melson, the budget update.
Okay, so this is the budget update for August. For August, we received $4.1 million in revenue. 3.2 of that was our TISA payment. We received around $800,000 in local funds. The majority of that was sales tax, and then we had some other income for about $10,000. So that brought us to 8.01% of budget compared to last year of 8.44%. So we're just a little bit behind, mainly in sales tax. Our sales tax wasn't as much as it was last year at this time. And then expenditures, we have used 10.8% of budget for a total of $3.8 million compared to last year of 12.1. And the main difference between last year and this year was some timing of some payments and the ISM grant purchase orders being written. But I will take budgets on track. Don't see any issues with the budget at this point. We've only had 1 month of revenue and 1 month of payroll, so I'll be glad to take questions if you have them.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the budget amendment, I guess dated 10/1/2024.
The budget amendment, what? This is the budget update
The budget update, yeah, I'm sorry. Budget update,
as of August. This is for August.
August. Okay, it was dated, yeah, I was looking for some identifier. Okay, the August budget update. So I need a motion to approve the budget update for August.
I so move.
Okay, Mr. Cordell, second.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Hodge is the second. Any discussion, questions? All right, there being no discussion, where were we? don't know what, Ms. Jones.
Aye.
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 And chair votes aye, that passes 8-0. So we are finished with our agenda. So next up, we have items for discussion, and we still have some principals back there that haven't fallen asleep, so which one of you guys wants to come first?
I appreciate our principals being here.
Things that we've got going on at Deerfield. The last Friday before we got out of school is we had our school-wide family picnic. So the families just bring picnic baskets, blankets, and we just all pile outside and have lunch together and get to enjoy each other and the students. And we had great weather this time, so we were fortunate. Let's see, we have on the 23rd coming up our academic pep rally. We've broken those down into 3 grade bands because the little ones have a hard time sitting through all that. They do a pretty good job, but we're going to separate them this time. Then we have our trunk or treat coming up on October 24th, where we have all the cars parked out in the bus parking lot, and some parents participate with trunks and some don't, some just come for candy, and then teachers participate and create a trunk. Let's see, we have the 5th grade going to the Carter House on Friday. We have the 3rd grade going to Old Stone Fort at the end of the month. And of course, we have Halloween, so our kids love that. Kids love that. Teachers do too. And then at the end of the month, we have the 1st grade. No, at the beginning of November, 1st grade is going to Cumberland Caverns. So we got a lot of field trips planned. I've approved about every grade level's going on a field trip. So we like our kids to get out and experience things beyond Deerfield. So that's what we're doing.
All right, thank you. Dr. Anderson.
Good evening. Before I get to my list, I just want to say this. You all talked about, Dr. Cornelius talked about TISA and the goals and so forth, and so he gave a little shout out to our middle school for scores. I would just like to publicly say my teachers are awesome. They do a great job, and all those accolades go to them, right? Because they're working hard every day with our students. So just wanted to say thank you to our teachers over at the middle school. Our volleyball team made it to the state tournament, so they competed in that last week during fall break. So I cannot remember how they placed, but they did an excellent job to make it to that level. So I'm super proud of that team. Our FBLA club, they are going to the Titans Learning Lab in a couple of weeks, so they're excited about that. That's always a big field trip where they can go and learn about the business side of what makes up the Titans team, so that's fun. Our choir will be having a concert on the 22nd of October as well. Our Halloween social is the 25th. That's always a big event. Kids enjoy that. Usually have a big participation in that. And then we finish out the month with our career fair. Richard Skipper at the high school puts this together. Westwood will come over to the middle school, their 7th and 8th graders, and our students will be able to listen to different speakers within the community to talk about what it takes to do their jobs. So that's something that will be happening at the end of the month.
Thank you very much.
What date is that again?
Thank you.
The 30th? Thank you.
Mr. Parsley.
Mr. Bleachers.
At the high school, we've had lots of things going on lately, as always. A couple of weeks ago, we had our annual college and technical school fair. That's for our junior and senior students. We had upwards of 20 colleges and universities present for that, as well as multiple technical schools present for that. Our junior and senior students had opportunity to consult with representatives from those college and technical schools on a school day morning a couple of weeks ago. We were proud to be able to give them that opportunity. it really opens eyes of some of our juniors and seniors as to what opportunities that they may have. We also, seeing him here this evening, made me think of this. Our band director, Mr. Gavin Frankenfield, just happens to be back there tonight. And just shortly before fall break, our band went to its second competition of the year, and they actually finished first place. They were named grand champion for their division at the Stones River Classic in Murfreesboro. Again, that was just before fall break, so we're proud of them for that. A couple of things that we have coming up in the next few weeks, and we're a little ways out, but we'll have our fall play beginning on November 8th, and that will run November 8th through 10th. That's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and also the following weekend, November 15th through 17th. And on Friday and Saturday, it will be at 7 p.m., and on Sunday, it will be at 2 p.m. for those 2 weekends. The fall play is Night of the Living Dead. It's shortly after Halloween, and our kids, I tell you, they are really excited about that play. When it was announced that that's what it was going to be this year, we've just had a lot of kids that were interested in participating, and there's lots of excitement around that. And then finally, I'll share that we will have a Veterans Day assembly. It happens to be on the same day as our next board meeting for next month, but that school day, November the 11th, at 11 a.m., we will have a Veterans Day student assembly at the high school, as we do typically each year, and I want to just formally invite you all to come to that. I will shoot out an email to you as we get closer to that to remind you, but would love to have you come for that. Again, that's 11 a.m. on November the 11th. Our student ambassadors, when they're called upon, will have more information concerning what's going on at the high school right now. We have finished up from some fall sports, and they have information to share about that, and some things that are still going on right now as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Percy. All right, so board members, this is your time. So let's start with Mr. Gilly down there. Got anything to comment on, or?
No.
Okay, Mr. Cordell.
No.
Ms. Hinch.
No.
Mr. Hansard.
No, sir.
Ms. Jones.
No.
Ms. Hodge.
Yes, actually, I do. I always have something to say. Mr. Chair, I would love it if you could call a special called meeting one afternoon so we could discuss the standards that we have in place for our substitutes. I think we should familiarize ourselves a little better with just who we're letting into our schools and what the grounds are to not call someone back, and just how far is too far for a substitute to go before they are not called anymore. It cannot be enough just that we need them. And I think we really need to take a very in-depth look into what's going on with our substitutes, please.
Okay.
Other than that, thank you everyone for sticking it out with us.
Ms. Matthews.
I don't have anything.
Okay. We got a couple things coming up. We're gonna have to fit in a work session sometime before the December board meeting in order to, well, we got a number of things to cover there, but we also need to cover, at least get some information from Ms. Garner on the excellence program on that, so we can decide to re-up on that as Mr. Gilly had requested at the December board meeting. So that would be, hopefully we'll get that presented at a work session, so we'll try to squeeze that in before the December meeting. The one thing that didn't make it on the agenda today that we need to consider is the amendment to allow the funds at Hickerson, the outcomes-based funding, to be extended beyond the end of the fiscal year. And I think East Coffee wanted the same thing. So we had talked about that, I think last board meeting. Yeah. So we need to get that on the agenda, and I believe Mr. Hansard is going to work on that for us. So, And I think that's all I had. Coming up, I appreciate everybody's participation, and for Mr. Cagle for being here. We have next the student ambassador reports. And so we have Mallory Rogers and Lauren Shelton. So
Hi, I'm Mallory Rogers. I'm a current senior, and I'm the student body president at the high school this year. I'm also involved in FBLA, DECA, and I'm a cheerleader as well. First off, I want to talk about sports. So we had two golfers go to the state tournament this week. Jack Stowe and Noah Costello, and Jack Stowe finished tied 10th in the state. Our Lady Raider volleyball team closed out their season over fall break with 3 girls chosen for the all-district team, seniors Riley Clark and Paisley Campbell, and junior Morgan Spears. Our football team has a home game this week against Oakland, and we look forward to having a Halloween game against Blackman on Thursday, October 31st, which is also our senior night. And then our girls soccer team finished their season 2 weeks ago, losing in the first round of the district tournament, and they've improved a lot this year, so we're looking forward to watching them play next year. And they had 2 players named all-district, Bella Van Zandenbergen, who is a sophomore, and Lily Mathern, who's a junior. And lastly, our cross-country team is wrapping up their season, and they will compete in the region meet on October 29th here at Old Stone Fort.
Hi, my name is Lauren Shelton. I'm one of the senior representatives for SGA, and I'm also involved in DECA and FBLA. Homecoming was a success. The last meeting was the homecoming week, and we had nearly 900 students in attendance for the homecoming dance. Several clubs participated in the Out of Darkness Suicide Prevention Walk on September 21st. The walk began at College Street and went around the town. The Coffee County CHS team was led by team leader Andrea Fries, who raised $584.25 with fundraisers through FBLA and DECA. Interact Club, Art Club, and Student Government, HOSA, Beta Club supported, leading Coffee County CH team to be the largest team in attendance at the walk.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate you coming down and spending time with us. So. All right. I skipped committee reports, so Mr. Shores, I know we had capital projects, but do we have any others?
I believe that's the only committee. No, we did the safety one, but I can't remember if that was before the last board meeting or not.
Yeah.
It was
So
the week
we've had
before.
a safety committee and we have had the capital projects committee meeting, so.
Okay. And anything to report there? Or?
Not more than basically what we've already talked about with the capital projects. There's quite a bit to be discussed and to bring to the board to decide what direction they want to go.
Okay. Are we making progress on the renovations at Hickerson and East Coffee?
Yes, we are. To the point of what what the engineers are doing, architectural group, but they have been to the schools. They are assessing the schools on the need of, such as Hickerson, do we need the new or entire building or just renovate? They're looking at, they've taken pictures in all the rooms. They're starting to actually produce a video that you're able to see, or the way I understand it is a virtual tour of the buildings, so you're able to see what is actually there and so forth. They have taken the blueprints for those 2 buildings, digitizing them, so they have that information for the contractors if we continue. So there is some work being done, but it's all that behind the scenes stuff. But they will be pulling the information together to come to the board, but that's going to be a little while still.
Awesome. Okay. And, well, do you want to handle the director's report?
I can.
Okay.
Well, first of all, I want to go into the projects that we have going on. That's one of the things that was discussed. We'd like a report on how the projects are progressing. Starting off with the CTE building, it's gotten to the point where we're basically waiting for inspections. So the way I understand, Manchester City building inspection should be taking place, way I understood, tomorrow, We're shooting for the latter part of the week for the fire marshal inspection, and hopefully we'll be able to get a certificate of occupancy at that time, so that we can start using the building. We are also looking tomorrow, I'm going to be walking it with OLG to start coming up with any kind of punch list that we need, items that need to be taken care of in the building. So it's on that almost finished, but seems like we just can't get it done. Top setup, but it's almost there. The glass was installed since you saw it during the fall retreat. That's between the classroom and the shop, which was our major holdup. That has been installed, so that is taken care of. Some of the other things that's been going on throughout the system is the black backflow valve has been installed and finished up at the high school, which was a fairly large ticket item. If you pull into the back part of the high school, you'll see big metal shiny box. It's hidden there for nobody to see. So, but it's doing its job. The fire alarm replacement at the high school, they're saying 2 more weeks for it to actually get up and running. Then they have more time after that, of course, to take the old out and demo and paint where the old stuff was. So it's finishing up as we're talking. The chiller at the Raider Academy, it was installed last week. They did some final touches on it today. They did the run through last week, the test, but they had to do some installation and so forth today. So it should be completed as well. We did run into a problem the Friday before fall break at Raider Academy. There was all the rain that we had that came from the hurricane actually flooded where the basement part of Raider Academy is, which is where there's 3 transformers at. And it blew one of the transformers. So we had to replace the transformer, and then they had to redo the terminals on the others because they got corroded and so forth. But that was very thankful that it happened when it did, in the sense because they had time for it to be corrected and fixed during fall break. So that's all up and running. And then also, not only are we having that kind of problem, we're minor in our flooding compared to East Tennessee and the Carolinas and so forth. So, but it's all up and running again. And then we had several different smaller projects, but they're pretty big in the sense. At the high school, if you've been in the science department, there's 3 rooms as part of the science department. Those countertops had been there since 75. And if you saw them, you'd say, they look like they've been there since 75. And they were in pretty rough shape. They've all been replaced, and we saved a whole lot of money by our maintenance crew taking that job on and doing the work with that and replacing it. And I want to do a shout out for our maintenance crew, because they really save us a lot of money doing the jobs that they do. And they do a really good job when they tackle it. So I'm very proud of our crew, and they do great work each and every time. Sidelight windows have been installed in classroom doors. They didn't have them at the high school. We still have some elementary schools that need those. We have the sidelights. We just ran out of time. Once again, our maintenance department's doing the install. It's a big savings on it. Some of the other things, scuffing coats that we talked about at the capital projects meeting at New Union, North Coffee, and Raider Academy's gym. They all got taken care of over fall break, so they got a nice shiny floor and in much better shape than it was. But that kind of tells you there's a lot of stuff going on.
A lot of stuff going on. Thank you.
And ESSER, let me hit the ESSER while I'm going through it. The chiller at the Raider Academy was paid by ESSER, so that's finished up. Basically with ESSER funds, we're paying the bills of a lot of the projects that's been taking place, and reporting is going to start, because there's a lot of reports that go along with ESSER, and that's a big part of it for many years to come.
Wrapping it all up. All right. Thank you, Mr. Shores. And with
Did you say we're still, the Raider Academy still flooding the basement?
The basement at, you gotta realize the basement at Raider Academy that I'm talking about is where transformers and pipes and electrical go into.
Not
This is
the
areas
actual
that
basement.
no students, nobody
know
goes
that.
into. This is,
I thought that was corrected, not, because I know that basement over there was terrible at, years ago, middle school, when it was junior high. And I thought that had been corrected, where it couldn't flood.
but what happened was, we had so much rain so quick that it actually covered the drainage with debris, and there was just so much rain that came so quick, it couldn't handle it. So that's what caused it. But as soon as the debris was removed, then that freed up the drain to remove the water from that area. So
Can we not put an erosion sock around that to keep the debris from out of the drain so the water can go in?
there's actually a metal thing that goes around it already. It's just it just got overwhelmed and it got full, and that's what caused it. It's all in a concrete area.
No, I know where it's at. I've seen it, but can we not put some erosion eels or something around that?
Where this is at, maybe, and I won't lie to you, I don't know how the water actually got down to it, the way it's set up, but it did. So, and I'm not sure if you know. You say you know which one it is.
Yeah.
Not too many people know where this one is. So,
Well, I mean, wherever it's at, I mean,
Yeah.
we can keep the silt from going to it is what
Right.
stopped the drain up, right?
I don't think it was silt. I think it was just debris, like your leaves, and
Debris, silt,
garbage, and other type of
whatever.
stuff that got onto it.
We can put up erosion seals or something, some type of erosion blanket to let the water get through there to keep the debris from getting to the drain. It's very simple to do.
Okay, we
Yeah.
can look into it.
Okay, look into that.
All right, that includes the agenda for tonight, so we need a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we are out of here.